Okay, last time I think we talked about phase 7. We'd finished up phase 6, and we just talked about converting the word buyer to the word giver in the UI. So now we have the SMS handling of inbound messages, and this part here particularly wanted to talk about making a function call to call the queue handler. So before I talked about, hey, wouldn't it be great to use the health route to call the queue processor because it's going to be called every 30 seconds or so, naturally by whatever host is looking at the container to make sure it's healthy. However, as you get multiple containers running at the same time, you get more and more calls to the queue processing. Those queue processors are in different, complete separate computers, and they're not keeping track of what each other is doing, and they're going to step on each other's toes, so to speak, and they're going to just get in the way. And we're going to be processing the queue too much. We may end up sending people their messages more than once. It just gets to be a real mess. So I ended up using the function option of DigitalOcean, where you just say, I would like to just call this function every so often. And it's a free service that they provide. I think it's free, and at least it's very cheap. And I think there's only like one line in there that says, fetch the URL for queue. And just to remind you, I'm not sure if we looked at this one before actually or not. So if you look at the queue, it's just, process queue. That's all it is, and return back an OK. And so this is asynchronous, and this comes back every time right away. So it's not like it's waiting for the queue to be processed to come back. It just moves right on to the next line. And that queue endpoint is set up in the app as you would expect, /queue. Anyway, so that's now being called once a minute, so we're not hitting our queue all the time. Let's talk about deliverability of email. So that's SPF and DKIM. Those are the two main things we look at. SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. That is basically a list of IP addresses of the email providers, SMTP servers that you're okay with representing familysanta.com. What if someone, it reminds me, I was in a demo, I was showing people how you could email from a web page and have it just send out mail. And I sent it from president@whitehouse.gov and sent email to myself, and it just worked because there was nothing in the system itself to stop who the from or to address was. And people were like, what? How can you do that? It's because the protocol doesn't, you fill in the text or whatever you want. But anyway, the point is that as in the modern day, as we try to get more sophisticated with our email systems, we want to make sure that, like, for example, whitehouse.gov, they have to make sure that other people can't send from that domain. So in my case, I want to say, if I go to the DNS records for familysanta.com, it'll say SPF this record. Say, hey, the only place that can send email from this domain is this email address, this IP address, excuse me. So, other email providers who are receiving email, if they receive something from some other place, but it says familysanta.com, if it doesn't come from one of my approved IP addresses, then it's not going anywhere. Like, they just say, okay, that's spam. That's not a real email address. That's fake. And same thing with DKIM. Okay, well, what else could we do? Well, what if we have a more complicated structure where I just don't know all the IP addresses, or there may be a variety of different reasons why SPF is not adequate enough. And what if someone wants to talk about an email that I sent and it's been forwarded? Well, okay, is that a legitimate forwarded email? Well, the way they can tell is this system here, domain key identified mail. So the saying is, the email provider will make a key pair. They keep the private key on the email server, and they sign the messages that get sent out. so that if you were to use a public key to decrypt that signature, you can tell if it's a legitimate signature. So you publicly post the public key in your DNS records, in your DKIM text record, and then any of the email receiver companies will use that publicly posted key to decrypt the signature and make sure that it's a valid signature for that particular email message. And that signature goes with the message as it gets forwarded by other people. So you can tell that message was indeed a legitimate message. So both of these things together help to make our email system more reliable and more legitimate, meaning that we know that it was really emailed by the people we say it was emailed by. It's not just someone just putting together a piece of text that looks like it was coming from president@whitehouse.gov, for example. So we want to have our email to be better delivered. So a lot of these email receiver companies say, if you don't have these things in place, then we're not going to let that mail through. So if I want to let familysanta.com email through, I want to make sure I support these standards. If you don't know what either of these records are for your DNS, that's fine. Just go to mxtoolbox.com. It's a great site that helps you with all sorts of email related DNS settings, and they even help you with another standard called DMARC, which is basically a superset of all these things together that says how you should handle mail that does or does not meet these standards. But I didn't go that far. I just did that far. All right.
Is a good thing to do if you want to be sending out emails in any application where you're going to be sending out a decent number of emails. And redesign the website for that. Yes. Let me show you. Hang on a second. Let me just switch over to the other screen.
So this is what the site looks like now. It's gone through another couple iterations since the last time. It looks more Christmassy now, doesn't it? We've got a nice little logo for Family Santa, and the favicon matches that. And I've got this little section here from my story, which goes through that section that we talked about at the very beginning of the design, where it says, what is, why am I even doing this? So this explains that. And the sign up does go to the app.familysanta.com. And we can log in just like we have in the past. All right. So that's an improvement.
So back to this screen. So the last thing I wanted to cover was testing. So I need to test with users. I need to get some volunteers for that. But I also wanted to do some manual testing with was it Insomnia? That's what it's called? Yeah, Insomnia. So yeah, so we should do some testing on this to show that it's handling this section here. We talked about handling of inbound messages. So let's take a look at the code for handling inbound messages and see how that works. So there's a route for SMS incoming. It's called /Twilio. You saw that in the header if you were watching carefully. It's a post to this, this Twilio endpoint. And so what it does is it checks to make sure that the data we're getting is actually valid, good phone length, etc. And then, or based on what message we got, we run these tests here, which I'll show you in this SMS helper here. We look to see if it's a stop request, if it's a sign up request, if it's a reminder request, a gift request, or a gift clear request. Let's go take a look at that real quick. Here's the text words that if we get them, they're translated into this, this test. So if someone says, I want to quit or unsubscribe or cancel or stop, those words are signs that we should unsubscribe them. Just take them off the list of phone numbers that can be texted. If they want to sign up, then they're going to be sending either subscribe, allow, sign up, enroll, okay, opt in, or just opt. All those default to be signed up, enrolled, added to the list of phone numbers that are okay to text. And then there's a list of names, words you can use to ask for a reminder. If you want to just add a gift, you have to use the word gift. There's no other way around it. And if you want to clear the gift, you say gift clear, or in case you get it mixed up, I support clear gift as well. But if you put gift followed by something else, now we start getting into some, dangerous territory, like, well, which one are you really asking for? So I want to make sure you have to have gift and the word clear, just to make sure that's the one that's for clearing your gift list. All right, so those are the tests that are run. So we get all these match tests are giving me a list of Boolean tests, Boolean answers as to whether or not the message that came in matched one of these tests. So if it's set to unsubscribe, do that first. Only do that. If it meets any of the criteria for unsubscribing, I have to support that first. Also, subscribing is important. Got to do that as a second test. If it's a reminder, do that next. If you're clearing the list, do that. If you're adding a gift, do that next. Obviously, we have to test for gift list first, because gift will always be true if someone is asking for a clear, because it includes the word gift. And then if I don't get anything, they're just sending some other word, then I'm going to send them a list of instructions. Hey, let me explain to you. These are the words that we support. So each of these functions that are in the helper return back a promise. When that promise is processed, then I'm going to go back, and if there's any messages in the queue that were put in by just for this one phone number that the person that texted us, if we created a message to send back to them, which is likely, then we want to process just, any messages in the queue for them. That's it. We're not going to be processing all the messages in the queue. Of course, if there's any errors, we return those. And I guess that's it for this incoming message processor here. Now the helper, if it's an unsubscribed function, then you're just going to be adding, this is unsubscribed, sorry. You want to remove them from the permitted list of phone numbers. That's really it. And then you add in a message unsubscribe to the queue to tell them back, here, your number has been taken off the list and won't receive further messages. Okay. And then if you're subscribing, similar sort of thing, you're going to add them to the permitted list, and you're going to send back this message. Or say, hey, you've just signed up. If you're doing a reminder, you're going to get the gift list, and you're going to send that reminder message plus the gift list. And I'll show you this function in a minute. Clear the gift list. You're going to modify your gifts list to be blank. If you're doing an add gift, then you're going to come in here and you're going to replace the word gift from the text that comes in. This new gift is the entire text that was sent in, and then you're going to take off the word gift and space, and then so your new gift is going to be the actual text you're going to be adding into their database. And then you're going to grab what gifts are in the database. You're going to look up the loved record by phone number, and the gift suggestions is what you get back. If you're getting gift suggestions, then you're going to add in a comma and then add your new gift. If it's the first one, you just put in the gift. So your gift list in the database is going to be, your new gift list is what's going to be added back into the database. Then there's a log of what you did. And then there's a message back to the person saying, you just added the gift, and here's the one that you just added, just for feedback, so people can see what it is they actually did. There's a instructions text that is sent in case of that. And then for the gift list, I mentioned I was going to talk about this. How do we get the list of gifts to send out to the person? Well, I call this module the exception module. I get a gift list by phone. I'll show you that query in a minute. So I get my gift suggestions. I'm going through a record set of each of these rows coming back in this gift list by phone. Each row has a gift suggestion entry on the row, and I'll say the name of the person wants what gifts, and I do one person at a time, set of lines that are going to be sent to the person. If there's multiple lines, then we're going to take off that last ending character here, these characters, 3 characters at the end, just to make it so it's not, we're not sending extra characters that we don't need to at the end of our message. It's a little bit tricky. So let me show you that query I said I was going to show you. Exception. Why is this an exception? Well, it's because gifts from phone is not a table, it's a view. It's just so complicated to do things the old way, the long way. In fact, it even mentions it in the helper. Let me just go back here. Yes, it's hard to read, but so you'd have to get the buyer by phone, which could be more than one buyer record. And then you join the matches by the buyer IDs. And then you look up on the love table, get a list of names and gift suggestions. And then you verify that the related lists are in the messages sent status. What that's saying, if you recall about messages sent, that's saying that the lists are actually completed. This is not, you're not going to be getting this information before the matches are complete. You want to make sure that your list, the list that the matches are associated with, have a messages sent status of true, meaning that we're past that stage. We're at the last stage of the finalization of the matches process. You don't want to be doing that ahead of time. Back up to, so this view of gifts from phone is a fast way to do all those steps all at once. So you're doing multi-join. So here it is where we're saying for each, so we're going to have a phone number, a name, and gift suggestions. The name is of the loved one, and the gift suggestions for that loved one as well. But the phone number is for the buyer. You're going to be looking at the matches. So you're looking at the list of buyers, and we're just going to be getting a list of all the matches where the buyer is related to a loved one. So we have all the matches that the buyer is related to and the loved ones that those matches are related to. And we're looking at the lists to make sure that our list status is also correct, messages sent. So the list is related to that those matches as well. And, oh, here, this is interesting, another point. We want to make sure that the gift date is in the future, or it's today. That's why the +1. If it's today, then we can still do it. But if the gift date has passed, then this event is over. There's no reason to be sending out reminders to that person. And of course, we also don't want to be looking at buyers that don't have phone numbers, because we don't need that in our view. We only need the people with phone number. All right, so let's go take a look at testing this. Pull up Insomnia, and actually let's go look at the data quick. So in my test data, I've got Charlie and Frank. Charlie is 800-555-1212, and Frank is 866-555-1212. So we've got Charlie is the one we're playing with here. We're going to add another item to his list. He wants some gold and he wants a van. So expensive gifts, we'll say. So here's my message that I'm going to be posting to. Ever use Insomnia? It's a great little tool for testing things. You say, okay, what's the address I want to send to? My URL. What type of message do I want to send? It's a post. Here's the JSON that I want to send. Here's my from information, 800-555-1212. And then the body is, what text am I actually sending here? So I'm going to send the word gift, and then what do I want to send as my gift? I would like to request an acorn. The seagull. Try that again. Acorn. There we go. I would like to request an acorn for my for Christmas. Okay. success. And it gives me the message number 28. That's the message of that's the text message that I sent. I'll show you what I mean of it. First, I'm going to refresh this. So there it is, gold van acorn. Acorn was added to the list. So that works. We go under tables and I go to message received. The message 28 is gift acorn. Okay, so what other tests might we do? Well, I've already tested them all, but basically I could unsubscribe, I could subscribe, I could clear the gift list. In fact, I'm not going to go through all the detail of showing how this works over and over again. You get the idea of how it works with one example. And I went through these words up here and tried each of these endpoints. So it wasn't really clear how to test this in a non-manual way. So I just basically went through and did a gift list, gift clear, put in some gifts, I did the acorn thing. I sent myself a reminder, and well, let's do a reminder so you can see how that works. Pull up who is one of the reminder words, and I want this to be 866 because 800 is the loved one. The person who has them happens to be 866. So now, right, so the message that was put into the queue is this one right here. You have the following people. Charlie Smith wants gold van acorn. There it is. Yeah, so that's the message that's about to be sent out. Thank you. Okay, so those are the 800 numbers and the 866 numbers. Anything 5551212 are illegal numbers. Those are numbers you use in like movies or whatever. Those are not phone numbers that actually will work. And plus, they're on my list of, they're not on my list of people that I can send messages to. Like you would have to actually put them and have them as subscribed for real. Because the system is basically live now, I have to be careful that I'm not trying to send out to real numbers. So I send to myself, I send to these 800 numbers that don't go through. You have to be careful. I'm not going to send to people that haven't actually subscribed to the service. Okay, I guess that's it for this video. I'm not sure what else there is to cover really. Let's take a look at the backlog again. Yeah, like I said, I still have some testing to do with people, and at some point I should, accept some money. Otherwise, I'm definitely not making anything off of this. But then I was thinking that there's some other things we have to do. Once the gift date has passed, the behavior of the system needs to change a little bit. For one, the lists need to be viewable all the time. Whether you said, I don't want to see the data ahead of time, eventually you have to see it, because what if someone, like the scenario that I described in the design document, that, what happens on Christmas Day when someone doesn't get a gift? Who's to blame? Well, if you said, I don't want to see the list, then you'll never know. So that's not okay. So it has to be viewable on the gift date or after. And then we don't want to keep sending reminders after the gift date has passed. So I think that query that we were just looking at, that exception query, actually takes care of that. So I don't think I need to worry about that. And yeah, so we want to be able to have individuals be able to ask, hey, who had me? So that they can ask the system themselves, and the system will tell them. So I might want to add a new way to do that. Let's put that in the parking lot as a definite do. That's it's an interesting idea. I'd have to build something to do that. I'm not ready to build up that feature quite yet. So let's just focus on these things for now. And then we're almost ready to go live. As of the time of this recording, we're into mid-November. So I think Thanksgiving is in a week, 2 weeks, week and a half. So yeah, it'd be nice if we can get Twilio working for real and to get some users to help test it. I think that's it for this video.